lenient with allowing all of that to occur. You know, the right to demonstrate certainly was set forth there for a lengthy period of time. And, you know, when it became dangerous because it was dark, police had to intervene, and that's when you saw that number of officers that you didn't see earlier that were standing by. They were from the sheriff's office. There was some emergency response team type of folks, some SWAT type of folks. They don't really call it that. They call it the emergency response team, but that's when you saw those folks, and there was a bit of a standoff with police there. And anyway, you can check that out in part 3 of that 4-part video coverage there on Thursday night. A lot of hits on that. I think there's over 100,000 views on that video. A lot of people watching that and sharing it. So the reason I'm over here and not up by the speakers, it was said that these folks were going to march over to the Capitol. I'm waiting for that. They said that the main speaking portion would occur over there, and we've been here for about an hour now, and we still haven't left, so I'm not 100% positive about what this event is going to do. Event organizers here were very, very friendly. As I mentioned earlier in the video, they took no time to approach Zach and I as we walked in here. They welcomed us and put us in touch with who would be in charge here and who's been organizing it. So event organizers doing a great job here.
News 6 just drove by twice and didn't pull in.
And again, that's Zach mentioning that Channel 6 riding by a couple times, but they didn't stop. I saw Channel 10 here a few moments ago interviewing someone, but again, folks, I want to make a very, very strong point here. Where is the media? Where the hell are they? They get paid for this. I get nothing. I spent $15 to drive down here today. Over an hour it took me to get here. I parked a long ways away where I didn't have to pay to park because it already cost me gas. I don't get paid for this. I walked a long ways to get down here. Where the hell are the people that get paid? Why aren't they here? Why aren't they here? I'd love to hear from some of you about that. Write into the comments section, please. Where the hell is the media? I don't know. I can't say that about print. Print does a great job. The Daily Gazette did a phenomenal job covering the pro-police rally here in Albany on Saturday morning. The Gazette was here with a wonderful photographer. She's appeared with me at a lot of events now. As a matter of fact, we became friends because we keep seeing each other so much. And she's wonderful. Her name's Erica Miller, and she's a Gazette photographer. She spent the whole event there. She didn't leave, and she was there. Where are the TV cameras? Well, we're an hour and something into it. Finally got a camera here from Channel 6. I'll give them credit because they're finally here. Better late than never. You often see times when there's just a camera person. This looks like they've really gone the extra mile, and they're sending a reporter and a camera person. So that's impressive. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. It looks like who the reporter might be is carrying a tripod. I don't know who folks are, but I did see Channel 10 here. They are right over there. And she's been here from Channel 10 for a while now, so we will credit Channel 10 for being here for most of the time, and they may have been here at the beginning. But Channel 6 arriving just now, no sign of Channel 13. Didn't see Spectrum here. It's not to say that they're not here, but I don't see those folks. And that's been an argument a lot lately is, why don't you see this stuff in the media? Why does it take me to come here and stand here with my cell phone and show you this? And a lot of you writing into me about Thursday in Saratoga Springs, the media reporting something contrary, very contrary, to what you saw in my footage. And if you were watching my footage, or you've watched my footage, you saw what happened. The media reporting otherwise than what happened. I don't know. You tell me. Are you going to believe what you saw or what someone told you? Okay, it looks like the march is getting ready to make its way to the Capitol now. We're going to follow that march. Got state police here in the area on foot with uniformed troopers. We've got Albany police here on foot, as well as in Albany police vehicles. We did have an Albany officer that we showed you earlier. He's down here on foot. He's been walking around saying hello to people. That's how you do it. That's community policing. You know, you come out, you talk to people, and you be visible. You let them talk to you. People love that, and that's community policing. So it looks like things are starting to progress out here onto the sidewalk, with someone there with a "Don't tread on me" flag. We'll give you a look at this as it comes up Eagle Street, passing by the New York State Court of Appeals. About 150 or so persons taking part in this march, which I'm told by whoever that was that announced it in the beginning is going to march over to the Capitol, where there will be some more involved speaking occurring over there, according to the announcer earlier. So we'll give you a look at this. Got police officers here blocking the way for these folks to safely pass by City Hall and cross the street. Give you a look at this. The banner officially being stretched out here in the front of the march, heading towards the New York State Capitol. Just passed by the Court of Appeals, coming over in front of Albany City Hall now. Well, that certainly looked like a hell of a lot more than 150 people, didn't it? Okay, we'll take you over here. They've done a great job here of closing the street off so that folks could get by here safely. Traffic now resuming back down the hill. Give you a look at that Ford pickup truck that's carrying that sign up the hill there. All right. Looking up at the New York State Capitol where we were on Saturday with that police support rally. A lot less people here today than we had Saturday, but the people that are here are passionate. They have a strong message. They have very well put together signs, and they're doing this the right way. Got some friends down here in the area. JB Merdico, working downtown Albany. Want to say hi to JB. Want to say hi to Summer's Best Ice Cream back in Johnstown. I could sure go for one of those Dole cones right now at Summer's Best Ice Cream in Johnstown. Say hi to my friends at Bob's Bargain Outlet in Johnstown in the Johnstown Mall. Bob's Bargain Outlet doing a great job with bargain prices. It's my friend Bob Lockwood, works for the State Department of Transportation. Bob, thanks for all that you do working for State DOT. Okay, we'll bring you up here. We've got our friends from Channel 10. They are here.
You will pay for removing religious freedom. You will pay for discrimination, mass discrimination, mass discrimination. Taylor's gonna say something here, guys.
So last night, Cuomo came out with another silly video about masking up. Everybody show your community that you give a damn and wear a mask. That's what Cuomo says. Show up and give a damn and wear your mask. Well, this is the community showing up for the people that he is not standing for, that he doesn't represent. We are the community that is going to make the noise and hold them accountable for what they did to our seniors and our elderly. Cuomo's gotta go! 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 Cuomo's gotta go!
Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go! Cuomo's gotta go!
Cuomo's gotta go!
Guys, they aren't masks. They're muzzles. They're not 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 masks. They're muzzles.
They're muzzles!
This right here, guys, we see those signs coming in, right? New York tough. Oh, yeah. New York tough, right? This group right here. We are New York tough. 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 We are New York guys are gonna pay, and they're gonna pay hard, guys. There are dictators in this world throughout history that have killed, murdered, slaughtered fewer people than this animal has. 6,500 admitted that they know we're dead. Once he saw the heat coming, what did he do? He changed the narrative. He changed the numbers. He hid the history. He hid the facts. The facts that we all know. Facts over fiction. 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 Great job, guys. We got our speakers coming up right now. Are the speakers ready, guys? Yes. Do we have them ready? This information you're going to get here, guys, this is scientific. This is research that has been conducted. It's real information. These people dedicate their lives to all of us. They dedicate their lives to the search for truth. They spend hundreds of hours researching facts only for criminals that reside in this building that work for us to come up with slick terms and slick campaigns to dismiss all of the research. We are the research, guys. We are the science. They are the lies. 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 We are the science. They are the lies.
Revoke his power.
We need to revoke powers. We need to censor their powers. We need to stop their censorship against us, guys. I need to give my voice a break right now. So, you guys have been amazing.
Let's get up. We're going to get up on that couch. Everybody get up.
Okay, hang on. We got an idea. This idea sounds really, really good.
Wait a second. I don't like fun.
If you're with me to hold Governor Cuomo and our legislators accountable for the murderers and everything else they've done
to the ham and cheese hot pocket. Thank you.
20,000 or more. You can find those
One's good enough.
in the hospital fatalities, external investigation. Come on, everybody. Hold them accountable. 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 Don't stop fighting. Don't stop fighting. Governor Cuomo, what goes around comes around. You're going to be in that spot someday, and it's not going to be too long.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Mary Beth. All right, guys, I just found out. I guess the speakers aren't speaking right here. They're actually speaking right behind the statue over here in the corner. We're doing a song right now, so you want to join us? Come on over here, guys.
Okay, there's going to be some speaking,
Come on over, guys. Come on over.
and I guess we'll go take a look at that. See what we're writing down here on the sidewalk.
Watch your live feeds all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, some chalk work going on here on the sidewalk. Not a bad idea at all.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Our first, third person we're going to do is going to have the national anthem, and Doug Esmond is going to sing for us. He is a parent activist who's been involved in parental rights politics pretty intensely for quite a while. And he'll also be speaking a little bit later about a variety of issues. And so let's welcome Doug Esmond.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Sorry about that. I hate it when that happens.
Thank you, Doug. That was great. That was, man, you hit those notes wonderfully. Next thing we're going to do, folks, is sort of a common thing to do at the beginning of things, gatherings such as this. It's a benediction. But I think for today, it kind of has a particular kind of resonance. Because what we are talking about, what this whole thing about, from my opinion, is that our basic human rights as human beings, as New Yorkers, our constitutional rights as Americans are being constantly violated by our governor, right? And I want to read something to you. It's very, very brief, right? And it's the very first line of the New York State Constitution, and I think it's quite telling. And it is, "We, the people of the state of New York, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom, in order to secure its blessings, do establish this Constitution." Right? So our rights do not come from this building or the people or from governors or anyone like that. It comes from the Creator. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Brooke Jordan. She also has been an activist in these constitutional parental rights fights for quite a while, and she'll be speaking to us now and a little bit later as well. So, Brooke Jordan.
Hello. So, at this time, many of you know me as speaking out for parental freedom, religious freedom, medical freedom. But right now, I'm just going to be speaking on behalf of just being a child of God. I am a member of the Agape Apostolic Church in Troy, New York, where my father is the pastor, my mother is the co-pastor, and right now I am just going to lead us all in a word of prayer, if you'll pray with me. Precious Heavenly Father, again, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to gather, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity just one more time to come together, Lord. We know that you've endowed us with these freedoms and these liberties, Lord, that every day seem to be threatened more and more, God. But we thank you right now because we know that in the midst of all of this turmoil, in the midst of the darkness, in the midst of the sadness, Lord, we know that you continue to be the light, Lord, that you remain the light, Lord, and that you are in every...
Take a little break over here in the shade. Been on my feet here for a long time, so I'm going to give you a look from the bench over here in the shade. Take a little break. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear what's going on. Feels good to sit down. From what I understand, there'll be a ham and cheese hot pocket arriving here for me soon, thanks to my friend here in Albany, J.B. Merdico. Looking forward to that.
And this we ask in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Looking around, you know, the march looked a lot more like more than 150 people. But once we got over here to the park, or the Capitol, I'm sorry, we came from the park, Academy Park across the street. Once we got over here to the Capitol, you know, you can see just by looking around, and I'll take you to the other side of the statue there in a few moments. Had a woman there climb onto the base of that statue and use the PA trying to encourage others to join her in climbing onto that monument or statue, whatever that is. I apologize, I don't know the correct terminology for it, but she tried to get people to climb aboard there with her. Wasn't very successful with that, not too many takers. Some people climbed up there, and not really sure what that was all about, but right after that, some of the speaking began to take place over here. And I want to point out that, you know, the reason that I come out here and do this is to let people be seen and heard. Anybody that wants to. As you saw earlier, I let a person come on camera and talk for great length about whatever it was that that person wanted to talk about. And they spoke, and the message was... interesting message flashing across my screen, you know, all sorts of rumors and strange messages coming in. You know, there were threats of Antifa, here for the police rally on Saturday. I didn't see anything like that. There were some local protesters that I recognized from other events that were also a part of the Thursday evening event. There were some local folks, about 10 of them, that clashed with some of the police supporters that were here, and that didn't last too long. State police came out with about a dozen troopers, and eventually the situation was taken under control, and those persons moved along on their own. But there was some real heated exchange there. We've got that on video. I'd like to bring coverage to you as it happens. That's the wonderful thing about the ability here now in 2020 with Facebook Live. You can watch it as it occurs, and normally I'd be standing up there trying to give you a look at the speaker, but I can only do as much as I can do physically. You have to take breaks. The sun is beating down, and I had to take a break over here, so I'm going to bring you back up there and give you another look at what's going on shortly. Message coming across my screen, a threat to this event today. I haven't seen anybody around here that looks like they're of that nature, but nonetheless a message did just come through, and I wanted to let that person know that I did get your message. I just read it. I won't read it on the screen here, but I appreciate that information. Doing things much differently than I did during the 2 riots here in Albany. Those were some tense sorts of things that went on. Anything could happen at any time, so I'm a little more on my toes with these sorts of things after doing some thinking about the sorts of things that could have happened. I'm going to bring you back up to the speakers here in a few moments. Feels good to be over in the shade. A little breeze coming through. I want to say thanks to the folks that bought me a new pair of pants. I don't know you guys, and you don't know me. A couple, a guy and a gal messaged me and offered to replace my pants. I tore my pants during one of the riots in Albany. I got knocked over, and some people that knocked me over actually helped me back up. But it was a situation where they were running backwards, and I kind of got pushed over there a little bit and hurt my hand and my knee, and my pants got torn. That was the worst part of it. My thumb hurt for weeks after that, but finally starting to feel better. But anyway, I want to say thanks to the folks that messaged me and mailed me a new pair of pants. That was pretty cool. All right, I'm going to get back on foot here and try and take you up. I want to point out Senator Jim Tedisco sending out a lot of information about the investigation into the nursing home situations with the COVID patients being sent to nursing homes. There's a lot of information coming out from Senator Jim Tedisco's office. Just last night, in fact, I received another correspondence from the senator and his office concerning this nursing home ongoing investigation. Very heated mess going on with all of that. You'll be seeing more of that here on my page as more information develops. Try and catch up with the senator at some point and get him to come on camera and talk to you about all of that. Senator Tedisco is wonderful to speak with and wonderful to interview.
The group that any of you can join. We welcome all of you to join that group. We're fighting for our parents so that their lives will not be in danger. We want to make sure that all of the elderly are protected, respected, and treated with the dignity that Cuomo didn't treat our parents with. Because any of us can end up in one of these facilities in the future. We don't know what the future holds. We could end up in a rehab, and this won't be the last pandemic or the last outbreak. I almost feel like, if he knew that and we all knew from the very beginning that the elderly were the most vulnerable, and he sent those COVID patients in with them while the USNS Comfort sat practically empty, and we spent millions of taxpayer dollars on auxiliary hospitals that didn't see one patient. Was this all about saving Medicare payments, you know, to the tune of about $1 billion? I don't know. But what I do know is I won't stop fighting for my father, for your mother, for your grandmother, for your grandfather, for your uncles, your aunts, and for us. So come out of your ivory tower, Cuomo, and face us, because we want accountability. We want justice. Last thing, and then I'm out of here. Can we get a moment of silence for it's probably well over 12,000 people that were murdered by Cuomo's gross negligence? Can we get a moment of silence for them, please? Thank you very much. Voices for Seniors, you can check us out on Facebook or on the internet.
I want to say thanks to Katie. Appreciate your messages that are coming in.
Thank you, Tracy.
Keep me updated, please, Katie.
My mother is one of the people that Tracy's talking about. She was in a nursing home, in an Alzheimer's unit. She got ill. And this is after she'd been locked up since, I think it was March 13th. And she became ill in the nursing home. She was sent to the hospital, where she passed away about a week later. And she is one of those people who are not counted. Because she died in a hospital, they're not considering it to be a nursing home death, even though that's obviously where she got ill. And my mother's like that, and many, many others. We're going to hear from a colleague of Tracy's, Danielle Messina. She is from Staten Island, and she is one of the primary organizers with Voices for Seniors, a group you can find on Facebook, and they are sort of taking the lead on this issue. So, Danielle.
Hi, good morning. My name is Danielle, and this is my dad, Samuel Arbini. My dad was a resident in Clove Lakes Nursing Home in Staten Island. My dad was quarantined on lockdown on March 16 due to the coronavirus. A year and a half ago, my father had some health issues and ended up in a nursing home. He overcame so many health issues and was doing very well and was in no dying situation. During the weeks he was on lockdown, we spoke several times a day. He missed me and his 3 grandsons so much. When I called his unit, I asked the nurse several times, "How is my dad?" They were quick and brief, and they would tell me he's fine. I also asked if the virus was in the home and was told, "No, we have no cases here." That was a lie, because Staten Island is small and I personally know people who resided there and got the virus and died. My dad called me on April 15th. He didn't sound right. He seemed congested and developed a cough. I asked if he was okay. Of course, he would tell me he's fine. The next day, April 16th at 4:30 p.m., I received a frantic phone call from the nursing home that my father fell twice. They claimed they were too busy and forgot to call me in the morning when he fell the first time. They found him on the floor with low oxygen. That he wasn't himself, and at this point he was showing all signs of the virus. They called an ambulance and sent him alone to the hospital. Doctors did a chest x-ray and said he clearly had the lungs of a COVID patient. He developed pneumonia, had a fever, so he received a rapid COVID test. He didn't have a voice to speak for himself. He was sent right back to the nursing home on his regular unit that night at 11:30 p.m. When I questioned the nursing home as to why they put him back there, I was told, "We don't know what we're treating him for." Really? Because he has every single sign of the virus, and you put him back on his unit to infect the whole floor and your staff, just as how you got him sick. 2 days later, test results came back positive. Finally, he was moved to a COVID floor. Here, because your dad's not going to make it through the night. That night, I ran there in a hazmat suit and watched my poor dad suffer terribly. His breathing was very bad. My father was a strong man, so he did make it through the night. But sadly, each day his condition got worse. The following Saturday, he was put on hospice because everything was failing. I had another 15 minutes to say goodbye to my big, strong father and my hero. I standed over him and watched helpless as I couldn't save him. I blame you, Governor Cuomo, on your lack of action in preventing the death of my dad and thousands of others. We had the Javits Center and we had the comfort chip, and we did not protect the most vulnerable. Instead, you locked the residents in their rooms. You allowed them to get infected, and you left them to die alone. My dad's death, along with thousands of others, was due to your carelessness of the politicians who continue to jeopardize the health of all of us, their inability and unwillingness to give clear and decisive direction on how to minimize risk, I feel has cost thousands of lives. My father was robbed of life, and you, Governor Cuomo, stated on the news how you wouldn't put your own mother in a nursing home, but you failed me and so many families. A special thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. God bless you all.
Thank you, Danielle. Our next speaker is Mary, an attorney who has been involved in medical and civil rights suits for decades. Currently, she is the general counsel of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s organization, Children's Health Defense. So, Mary.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see all of you here today. I'm not here to talk about Cuomo. I think you can all make up your own minds. I'm here to talk about health freedom. I'm here to talk about mandates. I'm here to talk about the COVID-19 clinical trial, because we all really need to take notice about this now. So I'm first going to...
Okay, those of you that are bitching about the alarm going off, that's important messages that are coming in that are relative to what I'm doing here. So if you don't like it, stop watching and go away. The rest of you will continue showing you what's happening here in Albany.
Compulsory adult mandates in 4 zip codes in Brooklyn. Follow our litigation in New York. It's all relevant to where we are today. Okay. So let's talk about mandates for a second. So I don't think I have explained to this group that if you're coerced into vaccination, that is a violation of many of your most precious rights. Your right to bodily integrity, your right to religious freedom, your right to parental rights, your right to refuse unwanted medical care, your right to informed consent, your right to due process, your right to equal protection. If the government can inject you with chemicals that you oppose, what can they not do, right? So we have to stand firm. And now
Here's my ham and cheese hot pocket coming up.
Tyrants are expert at doing is communicating almost non-verbally to people what they want, and then people obey.
Is that my hot pocket? Thanks, man. Oh, and a drink too. Here, you want to film?
To tell the New York State Bar Association, no, we don't want mandates for every man, woman, and child in New York State. And yet the New York State Bar Association, the mayor of New York City, the chancellor of New York City Education are all saying life won't get back to normal until there's the vaccine. We recommend mandates. No. It's not their lives. It's our lives. And we are free people. And certainly COVID-19 does not rise to the level of societal emergency that would warrant anything remotely similar to what you're talking about. So I want to talk for a minute now about COVID-19 vaccines and the clinical trials that we've received. Everything is being done, as they say, at warp speed. Okay, what does that really mean? What do you think is getting sacrificed if this is being done?
That's Zach. He owns High Rollers.
Safety. Safety is not even at the level that we've seen for all of the vaccines on the childhood schedule, which we know are extremely injurious, right? What's the real level of vaccine injury? A U.S. federally funded study, it's about 1 in 40. 1 in 40 people who get a vaccine get some kind of an adverse event. That's federal information. What do you think that rate's going to be like when it's a warp speed, fast track, liability-free COVID-19 vaccine? I'd argue it's likely to be higher, right? And one thing you got to know is these vaccines are covered countermeasures under the 2005 PrEP Act. That means they're going to be liability-free. Government, healthcare providers, nobody's going to be responsible when somebody gets injured. And let me tell you, you're going to have to go to a claims forum where you're not going to get compensated for your injury or for a wrongful death. So you're on your own. I want you to know I support people's right to get vaccines. There are people that I know and love who are going to choose to get it, but they need to have their eyes wide open. Work speed prepared. There's no liability. They skipped in the Moderna trial. So Moderna is one that the U.S. National Institutes of Health has partnered with a company to use the kind of technology that has never been licensed before for vaccines. Messenger RNA technology. You know what the first thing they did was? They skipped animal trials. Okay? They've been working on coronavirus vaccines for 20 years. What happened in the animal trials? Animals got sick. Animals died. They especially died after they'd been vaccinated and were exposed to the virus. What did they skip right out of the box? They had to change the regulations for this. They skipped the animal trials. What did we see in the phase 1 trials for Moderna? We saw 20% of the people who got the highest dose had serious adverse events. They had to be hospitalized. In the lowest dose group, 6% of people had a serious adverse event. And remember, they didn't just do that on the regular population like you and me. They did that on the super healthy. They did it on the Avengers. They did it on young people in perfect shape. No diabetes, no asthma, no allergies, no autoimmune, no ADHD, no bipolar, no nothing. You roll that out in the general population, they have no idea what the injury is going to be. They don't know what it's going to be immediately. They don't know what it's going to be in 3 months, or in 3 years, or in 30 years. So bear that in mind if you're thinking about getting a COVID-19 vaccine. And as you know, there's many other vaccines that are in this clinical trial phase right now. This is the new gold rush. And when people like Bill Gates say, well, we're going to be making enough vaccines for 7 billion people on the planet, when there's only 7.5 billion people on the planet, you know the subtext there is governments would have to mandate. And so it's time now for all of us to stand up and say, no way. So join me in saying, no way. No way. No way. No way. No way. Please come to Georgia. It's a free newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Holland. So Mary is very much involved in lawsuits and suing the bad guys. That's a very effective way of fighting. But there's lots of different ways to fight it. We are here fighting today as citizens. And another way to fight is to run for office. And we're fortunate to have several candidates for various offices around the state with us today. And the first one we'll hear from is Stephanie Jackson. She is from the Syracuse area, and she is running for the assembly seat for the 128th district. So, Ms. Jackson.
First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you for getting here today. I have been trying since late last year to bring all of you who are from various groups that I know, from Second Amendment to religious freedom to the medical freedom group. I've tried to get everybody to ascend on Albany together, and I'm really happy that we're all here together finally, because this is the only way that we, the people, are going to be able to stand up to this tyrannical government. So, first, I'm going to just share a little bit about myself. I'm a first-generation American, Ukrainian. My grandparents came to this country escaping communism from Stalin, and I see the signs. I started caring because my daughter, who's here with me right now, she's a 6th grader, and the HPV shots were getting ready to be shoved down our throats in school.
our rights, our constitutional rights. Little by little, we just keep losing more and more. And it's at the point where we have to do something, because it's gonna go one way or it's gonna go another. We're gonna lose the republic that we have in this country. And so all of our, from the nursing homes, I mean, everything that they do, they protect themselves from liability, whether it's from vaccines, murder. This is genocide, okay? We're living in a crazy time. Out of the 5 states, the 5 governors who did this to the nursing home patients, they account for 40% of all COVID deaths. Let's look at all of the numbers. Let's look at the facts. How many of those deaths need to be retracted for heart attacks, gunfire, car accidents? When we really fold back the numbers and we look at the testing, is there even a coronavirus happening, or is this our regular botched flu shot that everybody got? I mean, it was the deadly. I remember in December, January, everybody was suddenly dying. Children were dying because of this horrible flu. What happened to those people who were dying? COVID happened. COVID took care of those deaths, apparently. So I decided to run for office because nobody else was. I know that it's going to be a hard journey, but somebody has to be willing to stand up to protect our Constitution. And I think that there's a great group of people who are willing to step in at this time, but we need your support. We know that money's tight, but we need your votes. Make sure, even if you're a Democrat, please do not vote for the Democratic socialist agenda, because it's getting shoved down your throats, and that's why we're all here. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Stephanie. So, folks, we have a genuine hero with us today, right? And perhaps you saw the video on perspectives of on the academic episode 9. With a nurse from Florida who came up to New York City to work in Elmhurst Hospital, and she was just basically horrified at what she saw. And that nurse is Erin Olszewski, and she's here today. And maybe you've seen her video, and she is going to be coming out with a book soon, which I think you're all going to want to get. And it's got quite a title. It's Undercover at the Center of the Center Nurse, the fraud, negligence, and greed that led to unnecessary deaths at Elmhurst Hospital. Erin, come on.
Good. Hi, New York. This is not easy. I just want to say to everybody that lost a family member that I'm sorry. And I feel like our profession failed you guys. And this is why I wanted my sunglasses. So I wrote a speech. So I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to be here and returning to this lion's den, essentially. The last time I flew into New York, I was on my way to Elmhurst Hospital as a travel nurse, sent in to serve on the front lines of the COVID-19 outbreak. It was the early days of the pandemic, and I had no idea what to expect. As I began to discover the truth about what was happening here in New York, I found that nobody else around me wanted to hear it. I was a lone wolf, essentially. So today, I'm so grateful to have all of you, my pack, with me. You're the ones who refuse to let people die because of politics, ego, and greed. And the ones that believe the truth still matter. So today, I'm here to make sure that Cuomo and his cronies won't be able to ignore our roar. So today we're forming an army, and each day our army grows bigger and stronger. I don't use that word lightly. When I took my oath to join the U.S. Army and fight during Operation Iraqi Freedom, I vowed to protect our country and our Constitution from enemies, both foreign and domestic. I never believed that I'd be called upon to fight so hard within our own country's borders, but guess what? That moment is here and now. So you and I and everyone else that calls themselves an American is being faced with a choice. Will you sit by as our citizens die off one by one and our country turns into something we don't recognize? If the answer is no, what will you guys do to stop it? I know how I would answer that question, and that's why I'm here today. In addition to being a combat veteran, I'm also a nurse. And when I heard what was happening in New York, I knew I had to see it for myself. So I came to Manhattan and began serving as a travel nurse at Elmhurst Hospital in Queens. It was there that I saw the true effects of Andrew Cuomo's so-called leadership firsthand. Elmhurst was like a hospital in a third world country, and I saw more than a few of those when I served in the Middle East. The rooms were filthy, and many of the nurses had pretty much given up. Sorry. COVID-19 was spreading like wildfire because of the poor or non-existent infection control measures. But that wasn't even the worst of it. People who had tested negative multiple times for COVID-19 were being labeled as COVID confirmed and put on COVID-only floors. They were put on ventilators and drugged up with sedatives, beginning their slow march to death. Whether or not these people had COVID-19 when they checked in, their deaths were labeled as such. In most cases, those deaths were not because of COVID-19. Those deaths should have never happened. Some of those victims may have been your husbands, your daughters, your grandmas. And I'm here to promise you that they will receive justice. I'm speaking for them today, and I will continue to carry their message, the truth of what actually happened to them. Nobody was talking about what was happening inside of Elmhurst. Nobody was speaking up for those patients. I saw optometrists, plastic surgeons, and other doctors in training making rookie mistakes that killed these patients. I saw them refuse CPR on patients whose families had not consented to a do not resuscitate order. I tried to speak up along with many of my fellow nurses, but those people were following Cuomo's orders. They were order followers. Like power-hungry and misguided a general sending his troops on a suicide mission. Cuomo issued order after order that co-signed thousands of people to their deaths. He ordered up thousands of ventilators that we later found out were killing patients. He banned hydroxychloroquine, which is now showing promise in treating COVID-19. He sent thousands of your parents and grandparents who were recovering from brutal hospital stays back into virus-infested nursing homes with breathtakingly bad care and infection control leading to thousands of deaths. I ask you, how is any of this true leadership? Worst of all, he ensured that nobody would have a shred of accountability for these horrid mistakes. No one would have to answer for the thousands of deaths. In fact, they get paid for it. On March 27th, Cuomo gave a get-out-of-jail-free card to the entire healthcare industry by an executive order. That was the exact same day that the U.S. government passed the $2 trillion CARES Act, which put a bounty on patients that doctors labeled as COVID positive. I know from firsthand experience that patients died because of these orders. The hearings that begin today are the court-martial that Cuomo deserves. Because yes, this is America. Generals are responsible for the orders they give to their troops. The buck stops with them. If a general leads his troops towards failure and carnage, he is the one to blame. He is the one to punish. This goes for our political leaders. Now that Cuomo won't accept his share of that. He's tried to reverse orders and explain away deadly mistakes with excuse after pathetic excuse. He is completely without shame and utterly without regret in the face of men and women who have died on his watch, victims of a suicide mission that they never agreed to join. So I am begging you, do not be lulled into a state of complacency. I'm sure Cuomo would love it if people in this state and country figured, well, it's over. A lot of bad stuff happens, but let's fire up the barbecue. I am telling you now, this is not over. States around the country, second waves are surging, and New York will not be an exception. We may get a second chance, you guys, to do this right. To treat COVID-19 without killing people, as places like my home state of Florida are already doing. We cannot do it under Cuomo. Listen to what he has been telling you. Even if New York avoids a second surge, the citizens of this state are not out of the woods. Cuomo has said publicly and proudly that he wants this state to be a laboratory for testing the COVID-19 vaccine. He is offering you guys up as guinea pigs. He is making you into those kamikaze pilots. Are you willing to join Cuomo's suicide mission? Or is it time for rebellion? I for one will not rest until Cuomo and his minions are held responsible for the deaths that they cause. I for one will not rest until this corruption and dictatorial leadership is destroyed so that the future Americans are not put at risk. This means we protest, we speak out, and we refuse to allow online censorship wipe out all of the truth that has happened and what could happen in the future. We ensure that every person around us knows the ugly reality of New York's coronavirus history, and that we work together to ensure that this never happens again. More than 6 months after the first case of COVID-19, the real battle has begun. The real battle is the federal investigation to hold Governor Cuomo accountable for his policy decisions which led to the unnecessary deaths of thousands of New Yorkers. Who's with me?
Andy better watch out. Aaron's on him. Thank you. That's great.
Took a lot of nerve. What you did, thank you.
Our next speaker is a friend of mine, and he is an attorney and an activist. He's been working for nearly 2 decades now on issues related to autism, vaccine injury, civil rights. And in the last few years, he has particularly concentrated on religious liberty issues. His name is Kevin Barry. He works with a organization called First Freedoms, and he currently has, I don't know how many, Kevin, dozen lawsuits around the state right now, trying to get kids back into school who had their religious freedom removed from them by Governor Cuomo and his minions in the building next door. So, Kevin. And he is also working with Aaron as well.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out, and thanks for the nice introduction, John. And Aaron, I applaud your courageousness in stepping forward. She and I have been friends for about 2 years, and when she was in New York, she called me one night very upset about what was happening in the hospital. And it became clear right away that it's going to be a he said, she said question unless there's some recording, some audio or some video. And I may or may not have known that being a photo was open. And I may or may not have been the one who helped her get the spyglass. And what I would say to people who consider that a HIPAA violation, that you have failed ethics. You have failed ethics if you think taking a photograph or getting some audio of doctors saying that 90% of people who go on a ventilator are not going to get off the ventilator. And even though that she has it on audio and video, people are still saying that it's not legit. It's like, did you watch the video? Are you listening to the audio? And they're still going to try to crack that story as if it's not legit. So in 2 weeks, when that book comes out, Undercover Epicenter Nurse, help us get that to #1 so no media can ignore this. So as you all know, Governor Cuomo's had quite a year, right? Last year around this time, he sold the children of New York, the children of the religious in New York, to the pharmaceutical industry by repealing the vaccine mandate. But he was just warming up. That was just the warm up. Now he's coming for everybody. They're coming for everybody with vaccine mandates, cradle to grave care. And if we don't stand up now, and not you guys, because you guys are all amazing. You all turn up at these things. But where are the crowds like we had in Berlin? If you look online, there's hundreds of thousands of people turning up from Berlin. Where are our neighbors? Where are you people? Because we're in the direction. We're heading towards China. We're heading towards social credit scores. We're heading towards tracking. And Cuomo's not only selling the citizens of New York to big pharma, he's selling it to big tech. He's selling it to big tech and big data. So Cuomo, and who's he partnering with to reinvent the schools? Bill Gates. Bill Gates. What could possibly go wrong? Bill Gates running the education system. Do not let him crash your children's hard drive. Do not let that happen. So I'd also think that Cuomo, it's very strange to me to understand what's happening as someone who lived in Manhattan for 20 years. Like, the Cuomo and de Blasio are literally killing Manhattan. They're literally killing it because it requires actual togetherness. Not the bullshit slogans, alone together, together alone, not that nonsense, actual togetherness. You have to be willing to ride a commuter train, a subway car. You have to be willing to be with your neighbors, with your fellow citizens, and not be afraid of them. Yet all they do, all day, every day, is try to scare everyone. And they're literally killing Manhattan. So why would they do that? Why? I know there's some media here. I would love to have a question put directly to Andrew Cuomo, because I've heard this same rumor in multiple states from both parties, and here's how the rumor goes. The rumor is that Governor Murphy and Governor Cuomo are both promised cabinet positions in a Biden administration if they close their states through November. So we are now, I've heard that in Hartford, I've heard that in Trenton, I've heard that in Albany, I've heard that in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Columbus, Ohio. Everyone's asking me if I know about this, and I'm like, I don't know, but I would love to have media where Cuomo, during his fear-monger hour every afternoon, why can't someone ask him a question? Will you please rule out that under no circumstances will you join a Biden administration? Again, because I don't think Governor Cuomo or Governor Murphy are stupid people. So if they're doing a stupid thing, and this is a demonstrably stupid thing, we're in the 5th 30-day extension of an emergency order that's only supposed to last 30 days. And we're 93 days away from Election Day. So we can expect at least 3 more. We can expect that the emergency is going to continue, because I think the strategy is that if the more chaos there is on November 3rd, the better chance there is of a Biden administration. And I think that's the ultimate motive. So let's please get Cuomo on the record that he will not join the administration. One quick thing about the religious exemption issue. Jim Ramirez and I will be filing by the middle of this month a case in New York to get the children of the religious back enrolled for distance learning. Now, if you want to expose that law was intended to be discriminatory against the religious, why in the world can the children with religious exemptions not attend distance learning when they're not in the same room or building with their peers? Exactly. So help us with that. Help us with that. We're going to have that out in a couple weeks. So Erin's subtitle of her book talks about fraud, negligence, and greed, right? And that's what happened. COVID traveled from room to room in the hospitals in New York City. It was as she mentioned, some people were commingled, people with COVID, non-COVID. It was a very unusual time where families were not able to go in and be with your loved ones. So there was very little opportunity for anyone to know what was really happening in there, which is why I think it's extremely brave that she was willing to take the step, the necessary step to preserve lives. And I'd also like to note, and Erin wasn't alone in this. There were Nicole, another nurse came out. There were other whistleblowers who were talking about what happened in the hospitals. And if you chart when the nurses started speaking, when you chart that against the death count, it dropped like a rock. right? As soon as the nurses came out and said what was happening in the hospital, they changed their tune. So again, thank you very much for all of this. And I also think one last part that involves the presidential election. I think these northeastern states that are trashing their own economies, and New York City that is trashing its economy, that they're counting on a Biden bailout. They're counting on it. They're counting that Biden will bail them out. A Biden administration will bail them out. And I would also love to see the press ask Governor Cuomo, what's he going to do if President Trump is reelected and doesn't bail out the deficit he's creating? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next speaker, folk, is Doug Esmond. You heard him already do that great version of the national anthem. Doug has been an extremely active advocate for parental and religious rights here in New York. He was very much involved in the fight to preserve the religious exemption for vaccine mandates to go to school. Unfortunately, we lost that one for the time being, and Doug's kids lost their right to an education here in New York, along with about 27,000 other kids. So, Doug.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm very humbled to be here. Thank you very much again, John. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, everybody, for letting me speak. I certainly do not have the tragic story that some have here. As John said, my kids did lose their rights to a education last year. But I have a simple message today. Simple message. God is essential. This guy, not so much. We already know, as parental advocates, as medical freedom fighters, as religious freedom fighters, we already know where we stand with our religious beliefs. To this guy and to our current legislator in large part. I'm sure that everybody is pretty familiar with the visual of said Cuomo holding up the Bible and lecturing our president that we read the Bible in New York. Well, I'm holding up a Bible right now, and I think a lot of you are going to recognize this Bible. This is one of the ones from our good friend Rochelle out in Western New York. Awesome freedom fighter. She put together a project where we would go through and, among other things, we would label Bible verses that supported our beliefs. So many. She went through and put the pictures like this of Jonathan Michael Wirtz. She had the blessing of his mother Stacy to put this in. And so we could show the legislators. We were treated hostilely. I probably have a few of these left over because they were throwing back at me. So I don't want to hear it when he talks about I read the Bible. I am one who, my beliefs are based largely in the commandments. And I'm just going to give a little overview here. There's none of them that what he does is not in some way desecrating. I'm going to start right off with Commandment 6. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do harm. Certainly when you know that you can do otherwise. This relates to everything that we've had to deal with medical freedom, leading right through what we've had to deal with COVID, because he's had so many warnings. We've had the science, we've had the testimonies, heartbreaking ones like we just heard today. And still nothing. And still nothing. Where was he reading the Bible last year when he hammered through late-term abortion legislation? How about bearing false witness? How many times has he told us to wear a mask and he doesn't? He doesn't socially distance himself. I am not going to listen to a governor that tells me to do something when they won't do it themselves. Thou shalt not steal. How much has he stolen from us? Our rights, our dignity, our freedom, our jobs, the list goes on and on. There's now plans to steal from the ones that are the most needy among us. Our physically disabled, our disabled kids will be getting their educations more and more stolen from them so he can bail out all the bad decisions he's made for this terrible, terrible administration. What did we do in times of trouble? What did we do at 9/11? Where was church? Well, it was somewhere we could go. It was a refuge. God has always been that. We deserve that. Always. There is nothing bigger than God. And as I say, I don't have the tragic stories. I've probably lost one employment situation with a sacred institution because I will not allow myself to be contact traced. I will not. I will not wear a mask. I will not participate in services where I cannot sing. Early this year, earlier this year at one of our New York rallies, one of the wonderful Free New York rallies that was set up, I had the pleasure, very lovely pleasure of meeting a man. This is 2 months after all the, after we just got sucked into all the COVID-19 vortex. And he said to me, he said, I didn't advertise it, but what I did is I went to my congregation and I said, who of you, this is after a couple weeks of them looking at the actual facts, at what was actually happening. He said, who of you wants to come to church? And he said, whoever of you wants to come to church, you come to church. The rest of you, you do what you need to do. Why was that opportunity not given to everybody? And he said, you know what? We didn't advertise. It was fine. No one died. Everybody who wanted to come in, they came in. They were part of a community of God. That's an anecdotal story, but what I think is so important about that is that he went to his congregation and he said, what would you like to do? We've got a dictator here. He doesn't ask that. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to be treated like a dictator. I can go to God. When I go to a dictator, they tell me if I don't agree with what they say, too bad. He's nothing more than a bully. And what have we done with bullies since the time of Goliath? We're going to be David to his Goliath. The dictator always makes it about themselves. God is an inconvenience for them. We're supposed to trust in these people. And when they don't give us our rights to participate in our religious freedom, when they harm our senior citizens. I can't tell you about how many times I've talked to an older person who is a shut-in and is in dire need of that community, and they've denied that. And that's not okay with me. And now for the good news. We are still the body of Christ. We are still, whatever religion we are still in God's family. And out here right now, yes, I am worshiping, I am feeling God's presence. And with God at the center, we will achieve. I want to thank everyone here today. I want to thank everyone who can't be here today. Stand strong, everybody. We will just continue to fight. God is our eye in the storm. Thanks to God, our one true essential.
Thank you, Doug. Our next speaker, folks, interesting man. He is a former Navy SEAL. He is a former FBI.
Here, I can get you on the sidewalk. Yeah, well, he's been running us off, the police officer. Grass that you pay for. Grass that I pay for, you right. In more ways than one. What steps need to be taken before you actually feel safe?
See, and that's I have a day job. Like, unfortunately. So it's like, it's hard, 3 a.m. comes around, I gotta roll out of bed when, and run out there and report on some stuff when I gotta clock in at work at 7 a.m. So, it gets, I try to keep up with everything, but it's just hard.
And is it just you, or do you have a team?
I do have a team, 2 other people, but they're kind of there as support, but most of what we do, like, I handle all of it. Like, as far as like our website and everything, I keep that up to design, updated and all that stuff. When I'm the one that does the live streams, I'm the one that does the reporting, and all of that.
All right. So this is Mr. Kawhi.
Hi. Good. Jazari, nice to meet you.
Yeah, she's the one who told me about you, and I was like, what? I gotta meet this guy.
Really?
I was trying to figure a way to meet him. I was like, how can I meet this guy?
I've seen you, like, at some
What? Sorry?
I've seen you at some protests before.
Yeah, I go to almost every single one.
Yeah. I've seen your name,
You should tell him about the story you told me last night about your ex-boss.
What?
About your ex-boss.
Yeah.
What happened to your ex-boss?
My ex-boss, his name is Brandon Byer. I used to work at a political consulting firm with, like, different senators.
Okay.
Sorry. And so, like, yeah, he called me up yesterday, and he's like, do you know who Jazari is? I'm like, no, I do not, but I have heard him before.
Uh-huh.
So I looked at your Facebook and stuff. He's like, he was like, can you talk to her? I'm like, why? And so basically what's happening is, like, you're kind of competing in the same district as one of the guys I used to play with. Hold on.
You were like, it's just something I just put
Yeah,
up.
like, I was asking my followers, like, just temperature check, how you guys feel about this?
Yeah. I'm just trying to tell you, like,
No, go ahead.
I respect what you're doing. Like, for Forrest. The dude I'm campaigning for is on the same side as you.
Mhm.
Right.
He what?
He hates people.
Wow, okay.
So do you know a whole lot about like who you're competing against?
No. To be honest, completely no.
Okay. Okay.
Wait, I didn't say I was running for office like officially.
You got people thinking and
No,
people
you
that
got
are.
people. I got a call yesterday, and I haven't talked to him in forever.
So people are shook.
Yeah.
They're shook.
I was like, let me beat this guy and see where his
Yo.
mind is
Yeah,
at.
what's like, I was watching your Facebook Live, seeing what you're all about.
Yeah.
You have some good things to say. You're kind of competing against Elliot Mostar.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard his name. I've heard his name. I don't know him. I have never met him.
He's very.
Huh?
No.
No, I'm okay.
He's very,
Watermelon.
He's a very sweet guy. And he wants to speak with you.
Okay.
I'm sorry not to, but like, he wants to speak with you, and he wants to see like what he can do to help. So
Okay.
this is the perfect opportunity for you. I'm sorry. I know you're probably like, whoa, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, we're on live also, by the way.
A
Sorry,
lot of
but
teachers are very underpaid
there was not bad you said, but here.
because LPD gets paid way more than teachers.
I've been
And
live before.
they're trying to fight against that too.
What?
Yeah. You know that? He's always on live.
Oh, so you got my whole conversation too?
Yeah.
That's cool. Hey.
Hold on. Can you hold this for a second, Dominique?
Hi guys, what's up? It's Dominique from Black Leaders Movement. I just want to start off by saying come out to the protest at noon at the Capitol. LPS teachers are putting on a demonstration at Pete Ricketts Mansion. They're going to be putting up tape to show classroom size, desks to show how it would be impossible to not spread coronavirus in classrooms, especially since that they don't even get paid enough. And they're going to be also doing remote classroom while in-person classroom. And teachers are also exhausted. They don't want to spread corona, and they don't want it to spread to their families and children. And we should respect that, because people are going to get sick. More people are going to die. What are we doing here? Also, I'd like to say that there is another protest at 2:30 p.m. at the City County building. We're protesting against the mayor's budget. We think that there are a lot of flaws in it. She wants to defund Parks and Rec, defund libraries, and defund other resources in the community, and she wants to give LPD more money, especially during coronavirus. And there are also mass evictions happening this past week. There's been probably about 50 already today that people are getting evicted from their homes. So actually, I didn't lie about the sheriff giving me permission. It's an actual thing. They're actually fighting it in court. I went to court today about it, and we are going to be back September 14th. There's been 30 hours of footage showing that Terry Wagner brutalized and allowed for that to happen. So it's whatever. I don't care what you say, because at the end of the day, you're not here, you're not in the courtroom, and you're not fighting for our lives. So I'm sorry to say, whatever your opinion is, and that's just point blank. You can bully me from the internet, but you're not out here physically doing the work. So also, I just want to say that I support all of you guys, and you guys show us so much support. Thank you to all of Jazari's live streamers. He's been out here since day one. He doesn't know I'm doing this, by the way, so Jazari's gonna see this later. But we need to understand that what's happening right now is that our First Amendment constitutional rights have been violated when they arrested us, and that's what happened in Omaha too. Understanding that we were peacefully protesting on our knees with our hands up, and then there was tear gas and rubber bullets shot at us while we were on our knees with our hands up, literally. And in Omaha, they were kettled. They were walking back from a protest, and they were trapped on a bridge and arrested. And I don't understand why it has to be such a fascist community here. This is outrageous. I mean, there's literally been kids, 17-year-old girl with her nose blown off, and It's just outrageous that Terry Wagner thinks that it's okay to say that all of these brutalizations against citizens are legal. Because let's put it in his shoes. If he was out here protesting for his rights in his life and someone decided to shoot him and tear gas him, how would he feel? How would any of you feel if you were out here fighting for your life and someone decides to kill you? So, if you weren't present at any of these protests, if you were not physically here to see what happened, and you're going off of just some Twitter comments you saw, then you have to understand that you're really not getting right information. Fake news all the way and through. If you're not watching what happened on video and you're not doing the education to educate yourself on why we're out here, then go do something. Go watch the 13th documentary, understanding that black people have been arrested in the US for years just for being black. So, yeah, the legal system does not work for black people. You see a white judge, you see white lawyers, and then they send you to jail because they don't think you have a good defense. There are people here right now understanding, yeah. I was arrested with teachers and doctors, okay? I was arrested with lawyers. We were out here protesting and they decided to arrest us for peacefully protesting. I don't care what you say.
We're gonna start crowding people, lining them up so we can start heading over. We'll lead with the banners, probably the best thing for us to do. And then we'll start heading over. So we're just gonna move to this part of the sidewalk and then
get people heading over?
And then will you grab my bag and my glasses over there?
Yeah, I can do that.
Sweet, all right.
Thank you. Understanding that we're not being violent, we're not rioting, we're not doing anything to harm anyone. We're speaking with our voices because we're American people and we have the legal rights to do so. According to our First Amendment right, we have the right to peacefully assemble. According to our First Amendment right, we have the freedom of media. And yeah, I have a lawyer. We all have lawyers. And we did not choose public defenders because public defenders do not do the work to help because they are overworked. The only law that was broken was our law, our constitutional law that say we can peacefully protest. And then on top of that, they used brutal force against half of our protesters by stepping on them and pulling their hair, and it's outrageous. I don't know. I've been out here protesting since May. I've not stopped protesting since May, and everything's been peaceful, everything's been legal, and you know what? I even take it to city council, I take it to the senators, I take it to the mayor. We do the work. Is protesting against the law? No, it's not.
Do you have a case for these?
And I think it's absolutely absurd that when we protest as black people, it's seen as criminal activity, but when people decided to protest the coronavirus and they weren't able to get haircuts and they were toting guns in the street, that they were legally allowed to protest. But when we're out here fighting for our black lives and protesting against police brutality and systematic racism, we're seen as criminals. Like, why is that narrative always there? None of us have criminal activity. None of us are doing anything illegal. Like, it's unjust and it's racism. Look at all these wonderful protesters out here. We're heading to the Capitol right now.
Yeah, I didn't even bring my protesting bag. I have my computer back with me.
Hey, where'd you put your bag at?
Shad grabbed it for me.
Shad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting on...
Hey, can I put this water in your bag? You hold this.
I like it. You got it up. I like it.
And if you want to hear from white allies who've been helping us, let's talk to Brian. Brian, how long have you been out here protesting?
Since day one.
And that was about the same time I came out. That was the day we were tear gassed at Burger King until 7 in the morning. As a white ally, why do you come out and protest?
Because I believe that we all have equal rights as humans, and I will stand with everybody until we have equal rights, no matter what it takes.
I'm like trying to figure out how to use this thing.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. This thing is so hard to use. There we go. Bizarre's back, y'all. Sorry, I've been ranting on your live.
That's okay. All right, I'm going to end this now and get back on another live for the protest at the Capitol.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. So, I think I'm just going to leave. I'm not so much worried about that. Hey, Stacey. Have we taken our masks off? Come on. Wow. Got some good. He crazy. Got a filter and everything in the back. That's remote teaching. That's remote teaching gear right there. Yeah, that's good. Is that you got to be either an engineer or science teacher. One or the other. Or just someone who's not trying to get die. Yeah. Exactly. There's a whole lot of us got health issues. We got one teacher, his whole immune system is gone. So we don't know what to do. He got 9 years. He got kidney transplant. And he take the medication to suppress his immune system.
Good. Crystal hit it.
So what do you do?
Good morning.
He got 3 kids.
My name is Crystal Williams Hayes. I am the recording secretary of the Chicago Teachers Union and the PSRP for Life. As you can see, we're all here because we take this serious. This is a life or death situation forcing children to go back into these buildings. We know that they're not prepared, and we want to make a statement to the mayor today. And for that reason, we will be riding downtown. We have a car caravan. People have taken out their time this morning to prove and show that we are not ready, this city is not ready to have students in the building. So you'll hear from some people here who will have something to say about it. And first we'll have Jesse Sharkey, president of the Chicago Teachers Union.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm Jesse Sharkey, president of CTU. We want to give a clear message to Mayor Lightfoot and the leadership of CPS schools. It is not appropriate to open in-person learning in an environment with raising contagion, where positivity rates are over 8% in more than a dozen neighborhoods across the city. And those are the neighborhoods in Black and Latinx communities where our students live and go to school. You cannot go to the beach in the city of Chicago. You cannot drink indoors in the city of Chicago, but they're going to send hundreds of thousands of students into school buildings, hundreds to a building. Adults, people with immune compromise, people who are with fragile health situations, to go to school in those buildings, and we're not going to stand for it. Yeah. There has got to be leadership in this city. It's not appropriate that the mayor does not have the guts to close the schools, and they're putting it on us to close the schools. That's what we feel like is happening. I just want to say very clearly that the Chicago Teachers Union believes in in-person school. We're aware there were many difficulties in the spring when remote learning was thrust upon us. We need to plan and do a better job for remote learning for all our students to keep our communities safe. And we need investments in our schools and in our communities. As we stand here today, we're well aware that $600 supplemental unemployment insurance just expired. We're well aware that the moratorium on evictions has just expired. We're well aware that many working class communities in this city are suffering and have real need. And that is why this demonstration, it's not just about don't open schools in person right now, start with remote learning. We do demand that, but we also demand assistance for the struggling communities in this city. We're well aware that safety and life itself is at stake, not just with COVID-19, but with the everyday conditions of life. In my neighborhood in Rogers Park, a 17-year-old who was just shot and killed, who's brave and speaking out against the injustice. Caleb Reed is his name. Let's remember him and all the others who are suffering right now. And our government needs to do a better job helping people. It needs to extend the moratorium on evictions, needs to extend basic income supports, needs to help people with child care, needs to help people with the things that we all need in order to be safe. I'll stop with that.
We're going to go to Maria next.
Maria.
All right, we will now hear from Maria. Thank you, Jesse, for that. We needed to hear that, and we need to let you know again. I'm going to reiterate. This is a life and death situation. On top of that, we have young children. We have over 6 children that have been murdered in the city of Chicago under the age of 10. That's a crisis. And put kids back into the building without the proper resources and everything that's necessary is not what we're going to accept. So we're now here from Maria Morano, the National Secretary.
Buenas tardes, soy María Moreno, secretaria de Finanzas del Sindicato de Maestros de Chicago. En toda esta nación, desde Los Ángeles, Atlanta, Filadelfia, las escuelas están cambiando al aprendizaje remoto. El gobernador del estado dijo que estamos en un punto peligroso donde las tasas de positividad siguen incrementando, pero la alcaldesa sigue con lo mismo, respaldando su plan de aprendizaje híbrido, de aprendizaje en persona, sin tener las necesidades adecuadas para abrir de manera segura. Necesidades como equipos de protección personal, como pruebas del virus, de respuesta rápida, de rastreos de contacto, de estrategias de distanciamiento efectiva para nuestros estudiantes. Son nuestras familias latinas.
They're just making their quarantine bubble a little bigger. Which they've already done, right? They're probably already letting their kids play together all summer. So now they're just moving that quarantine pod. And then they'll hire somebody who'll be in their bubble.
folks in the organization. Legislature to go ahead and just vest total legislative authority in one person, which is what has happened with the government. So we have a major problem in this state, which is that the Second Amendment has been canceled. And how has this occurred? It's occurred because of a range of pre-existing government red tape that restricts the right, the pistol permitting regime, the SAFE Act, red flag confiscation laws. And then, in addition to that, the shutdown orders, which shut down not only the pistol permitting offices, but all the gun shops across the state, essentially turned the state into a place where you could no longer procure a firearm. So that was a major issue for us. That's why we launched our lawsuit. We've had a range of others before this one. A lot of folks ask how 2A NYS is different from other pro-Second Amendment groups. We don't tend to work by, with, and through legislators like those in the building behind me here. We focus on non-compliance, non-enforcement, and repeal initiatives. What types of direct citizen action initiatives can you as a Second Amendment civil rights supporter do today to reclaim your Second Amendment civil rights? So as the COVID pandemic has dragged on, we saw the murder of George Floyd, we saw riots, we saw social unrest, really from Manhattan, where looting was occurring, up to Rochester, where I watched on TV on the 5 o'clock news, a husband and wife be viciously beaten by BLM protesters who were breaking into a store. The husband and wife tried to stop them. They were beaten, and they had only a golf club with which to defend themselves because, of course, the Monroe County Pistol Permitting Office denied them the ability to have a gun in the home. So really what we've learned from all this is that a couple of different things. The government's fallible. Police resources are limited. They can't be where you want them to be all the time. And you are ultimately responsible for your own safety and security, which is why the Second Amendment is so critical. And I think a lot of citizens, not only across New York, but across the nation, have taken that to heart, as evidenced by record firearm sales that we've seen all across the nation. And this has really caused leftist progressives to recoil in horror and zealously renew their reflexive attempts to scapegoat your constitutionally guaranteed civilian access to firearms as the cause for government policy failures. Some of the things that just over the past couple days in Buffalo, the government's tried to blame on the availability of guns to civilians. Inner city violence is one. Interestingly enough, the government locks everybody down. They have this protracted failed government war on drugs, which prosecutes victimless crimes. And lo and behold, inner city violence goes up. That's actually a cause of government policy, not guns being available to civilians. The other is an attempt by Brian Higgins, a congressman in New York 26, to repeal very important amendments that halt the federal government from commandeering records from gun retailers to be able to progress a civilian gun registry. And then, of course, just a few days ago, actually back on July the 20th, we had the Senate pass what is called a ghost gun bill, which that refers to the ability to create out of an 80% lower receiver a fully functional firearm, but also what it ends up banning is your ability to work on your gun at all. So you can't clean your firearm anymore, you can't disassemble it in any way, shape, or form, you can't replace anything that's worn out on the firearm. Really what this is all about is a further restriction on the ability of people like yourselves to access constitutionally protected arms like a full capacity standard configuration AR-15 rifle, which is banned in the state, which you have a fundamental right to. A standard capacity Glock 17 pistol, which will hold 17+1 rounds, which you have a fundamental right to in this state, but is banned by the legislature. So we have these record firearm sales, and in effect what the government's trying to do here is say, the access to firearms is the reason for all of our social ills, not due to the fact that we've shut down all of society, not due to the fact that we've permitted civil unrest to go on unchecked, but it's the gun that's the cause. So in the face of government failure, you never get an admission from the government of its own culpability in things. Now, where else has this occurred that other folks have talked about today? The COVID outbreak downstate and across the state more broadly. Why do we have that? Well, progressive politicians over the past several decades have generally embraced globalization. They have embraced downstate urban sprawl. And that's created a petri dish for the virus to spread, and it has spread upstate as well. So the fact that we had a COVID outbreak in the first place is largely the product of progressive big government policies. Other issues too, I mean, we talked about the nursing home deaths. We talked about ventilators, right? When the governor tried to requisition, really steal on behalf of downstate ventilators from upstate. Forced vaccines, masks in the beginning of this whole pandemic. You heard from state and federal governments, don't buy masks. N95 masks are useless, don't buy them. Really, that was a lie because they wanted to protect the global supply of these masks. Now, we're mandated to wear all these masks. So why aren't people wearing masks? Well, probably because the government lied to them about the efficacy of masks in the first place. So issues caused by poorly thought out government policies, caused by government, but blamed on the Second Amendment. So we have all these infringements that are adding up. What can we do about it? What can you do about it? Well, generally as a citizen, to redress your grievances, you can do that in 3 ways. You've got the ballot box, you've got the jury box, and you've got the cartridge box too. Okay? So, in effect, what's happened in this state thus far, we've seen in the ballot box is no longer effective. It is completely owned, lock, stock, and barrel by the progressive left, and that's not going to change. Correct. The jury box as well, we're understanding with time here, even at the U.S. Supreme Court level, which is primarily right-leaning conservative justices making up the bench, 5 of them to 4 progressives, we're not making any headway on the Second Amendment. We saw the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case versus New York City go down in defeat earlier this year. We had a range of conservative justices call for 10 additional Second Amendment cases to be reviewed. Those are all dismissed as well. And frankly, I think we've run out of time. I think by the time November comes around, if you listen to all the intelligence analysts out there, civilian, police, and military, regarding when we're going to see the uptick in civil unrest, it'll be around the time of the November election. So frankly, it's too late to rely on the Supreme Court. The ballot box is not a solution. The jury box is not a solution. So basically what you're left with is the cartridge box, which frankly, the state is working to severely restrict. So the question I often receive from folks about the Senate bill that's under review here that basically bans your ability to assemble a fully functional firearm, the SAFE Act not being repealed, the pistol permitting regime going on forever, etc. What can we do? Well, you're not going to vote your way out of it. You're not going to probably sue your way out of it. So you have to basically engage in what's called direct citizen action. How can you do that? You can talk to law enforcement. I mean, the only way that you can have effective gun control and force people to take various vaccines, compel people to do things against their will, is if you have a compliant police enforcement arm. And talking to officers all across the state for the past 2 years about what laws they think are constitutional, what laws they don't think are constitutional, what they can and can't enforce, they don't understand that they're a check against the legislature. Okay, and they're facing excessive civil liability. The legislature's working to end qualified immunity for them. And in effect, they're going to run with pay cuts going forward. They're not going to get overtime pay going forward because, as has been alluded to by other speakers, the state's facing a $50 billion deficit over the next several years. It's essentially bankrupt. So any progressive legislator that's telling police right now, you have to listen to me because if you don't, you're not going to get your paycheck or you're not going to get your pension, they're lying to you. You're not going to get that anyway because the money's all gone. The state was bankrupt before COVID. It's going to be bankrupt now and after COVID, and the feds are not coming to the rescue. So I don't think law enforcement, frankly, has an incentive any longer to enforce these unconstitutional gun control laws. So you can have those conversations with law enforcement leaders. What you can also do is work to defund the state. If the police are not enforcing the state's imperial edicts and they're working to defund and abolish the police, then you may as well not have a governor or a legislature anymore because their policy decisions have an effective range of 0 meters. So you can work to do that by doing a couple things. I'm not going to tell you directly to do this, but you have the decision to not participate in the census. You do. Now, there are federal laws that say that, you can be fined for that, but I can also share with you that since 1970, not a single person has been fined or incarcerated for not complying with the census. And what does that do to New York State? Why is Governor Cuomo so focused on getting high census participation? He wants a welfare payment from the federal government to bail him out from the massive deficit that's been run up by New York. So non-participation in the census drives the population rate down that's reported. New York State receives less federal money and less representation in Washington. That's also good for the nation because that's less left progressive influence on Washington as a whole. Government school system right now, keep them out. It's a good thing to keep them out of the government school system because that's where they learn to comply with the progressive agenda. It's where they learn things like gun rights are bad, where they learn to comply with mandated vaccines. Look to alternative means of educating your children, homeschool if you can. And of course, also with respect to keeping more of what you earn, try and find an accountant that has an expertise and maybe an ideological fit with you in trying to keep as much of your money as possible. You know, viewing the tax situation as something that's a forcible redistribution of your wealth. I'm very confident that in the coming year, we're going to see audit rates rise substantially because the state's going to be trying to claw back all this money. And they're probably going to come after people who are politically vulnerable, people who resisted during the coronavirus shutdown, restaurants that tried to stay open, gyms that tried to stay open but got shut down, gun stores that tried to stay open, which we've represented in court. You know, work with an accountant to try to keep as much of that money in your pocket and give the least amount to the state. Unfortunately, at this point in the game, voting's not going to help, the courts aren't going to help, only direct citizen action will. Together, we can send a weakened New York State over the edge. We can get them into a state of fiscal collapse where, frankly, they can't control your lives anymore. So together, we can have that impact. We can set up a situation where the laws passed in this building have an effective range of 0. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Steve. Come on. Okay, folks, our next speaker is Rita Palma. Rita has been a leader in the move to protect our basic right to make the decision of what is injected into our bodies and our children's bodies for 15, 20 years now. And she works through a number of organizations. She's probably best known for her organization, My Kids, My Choice. Rita?
Okay, thank you. Okay, lots of you people know me, and we've got a lot of problems, obviously. All the speakers before me talked about all the issues that we're addressing here in New York. And there's one way to get out of this, and that is to get better representation. We can vote our way out of the problems that we face, and we can do it November 3rd. Everybody here has 2 state representatives, and most of you probably know this, but if you don't, I'm telling you there's 2 representatives in your backyards that you need to get to know. You need to make friends with them, you need to have them know your face, and you need to explain to them what your interests are. My history, my interest, the reason that I got into this is because I filed a religious waiver to refuse vaccines 15 years ago, and my school district gave me a hard time. I did what I needed to do for my kids, and then I jumped in and said, you know what, I'm going to change this law. I did it. In 2019, we actually lost the religious exemption, but we're on a path to get back. Right now, we have a bill that protects the medical exemption, and I'm telling you, it's the first step to getting back our freedom overall regarding vaccines. And each and every one of you here can contact your state representatives and get support for this bill. Reach out to me, I'll set you up with all the information you need, the bill numbers, the bill language, and who represents you, and you can go visit them with some good points and say, hey, children are entitled to a medical exemption to immunizations, because if we don't move forward with our issue, we're going to constantly move backward. What is on the horizon for us is a mandatory COVID vaccine for cradle to grave, every year, everybody, no exceptions, no medical exceptions, no philosophical exemptions, no anything. So we have to get on track to correct the situation, and we can do it with a bill that we have in our state legislature held by 2 Democrats, my senator being one of them, and Angela Santa Barbara, who's a local Democratic Assembly member. The bill numbers, to get into the weeds with this, 7573 on the Senate side, 10813 on the Assembly side. This is the bill we need to push. It's specific, it will protect your families, and it is our first step towards regaining our rights regarding vaccine choice. And, you know, no matter, if you've never embarked upon an education about vaccines, but you just want your choice, we all belong in those offices. Everybody here, one thing they want is to win this November 3rd. No elected official enters a race saying, well, I really don't care, I really want to lose. So use your vote, use the power of your vote, engage friends in the effort, visit offices in groups. I'll give you all the guidance you need. If you want to roll up your sleeves and get to work, I will absolutely help you do anything you need, okay? So any questions, please, I'll be here for a while, and let's get to work. There are ways to fix this.
Thank you, Rita. Ali, are you here? There he is. Okay. Our next speaker, folks, is a warrior father who, just quickly, he'll tell you more in detail about it. His son had a medical exemption from a vaccine mandate to attend school for several years, and then basically for no good reason it was removed, and Ali fought back. Thank you. Ali, have a day.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out today, guys. We really appreciate the support. My name is Ali Hamida. I'm the president of Warrior Dads for Freedom, and the reason I made this group is to bring a whole bunch of fathers, you know, brothers, cousins, uncles, to come support our wives, sisters, mothers. So that's the whole foundation behind Warrior Dads for Freedom. So, and it's been great. Since I started, you know, it was mostly women. Now it's becoming even, which is beautiful, Rita. You know, I'm seeing a guy next to every woman, which is great. Okay, let me get into our story. You guys probably remember me from my son's Amir's story. Amir was kicked out of school in July of 2019 when Governor Cuomo and the Department of Health decided to take away a religious exemption for vaccinations. Amir then received 2 medical exemptions from his neurologist, and both were denied by New York State Department of Health. We then fiercely fought the Department of Health, sued the school, won the case, and got Amir back in school. So that was very big. And that's a big appreciation to Del Victory and Aaron Siri, which funded the whole thing for us. I'm here today to talk about my personal experience as a parent living in communist New York State. My 3 boys were all kicked out of school for not being vaccinated. My 10-year-old son Amir, who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and Lennox-Gastaut seizure disorder, luckily got back in school. My other 2 sons were not as lucky, and they cannot attend school due to New York State vaccination laws. My youngest son Abdullah, who is 3 years old, was born with a rare neurological disorder called Mobius syndrome. Mobius syndrome is the paralysis of the facial muscle that affects his facial expressions such as smiling, frowning, crying, his ability to eat and speak. His eyes do not move vertically from left to right, and from the facial paralysis, he cannot blink his eyes and has trouble closing them as well. This disorder also causes him to have low muscle tone, therefore he cannot crawl or walk yet. Abdullah was born with his tongue fused to his septum. When he was 2 weeks old, he had to have surgery to separate his tongue from his septum. When he had the surgery, he almost lost half his tongue in the process of taking it off the septum. Abdullah has received many therapies such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and special education. He is also in the process of receiving vision therapy due to his visual complications. Sadly, all these important services were stripped away from him because of the COVID-19 lockdown. Even when this is finally over, God willing it ends, Abdullah cannot attend school and get his services he deserves due to him not being vaccinated. So we're still screwed regardless from COVID or him not being vaccinated, so he still can't get the right services he needs. My middle son Ahmed is 7 years old, and he is suffering the same fate and not being allowed to enter public or private schools because he also lost his religious exemption. This is all thanks to our sellout governor, Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo has caused great grief and death throughout the state of New York. He has sold his state to be lab rats for profit, guys, which is unbelievable. We are literally lab rats, you know, waiting to be sold to Big Pharma. Governor Cuomo will go down in history as one of the worst, maybe the worst governor of all time. And if we have the FBI watching, I am urging the FBI to investigate Governor Cuomo and its democratic bodies for crimes against humanity. Como's gotta go! Como's gotta go! Como's gotta go! Como's gotta go! Thank you, thank you. Okay, due to the difficult circumstances, my wife Aruba cannot be here today. Aruba is a mother to our 4 children, 2 of them having severe special needs. In addition to this, she has become a full-time occupational therapist, physical therapist, speech therapist, teacher, and nurse overnight. It is incredibly hard for one person to take on all these duties overnight, along with being a mother to a 1-year-old baby. Because of the COVID-19 shutdown, Aruba took a major role on doing teletherapy for Amir and Abdullah. Between Amir and Abdullah, she does 12 teletherapy sessions a week, guys, and that's extremely hard. I watch her struggle. For a mother that has to cook, clean, give bath, do laundry, feed the kids, play with the kids, and of course make sure the kids get enough love and affection, it can be overwhelming for 2 parents, multiple therapists, let alone 1 mother. So imagine. Yeah. Believe me, I feel for my wife. It kills me. As a full-time mechanic, I cannot help Aruba as much as I want to. The burden has all fallen on her. I see my wife struggling to keep up with all these responsibilities while keeping her head up high and strong. Aruba is one of the strongest mothers under the sun. I admire and feel her pain so much, and I feel so much sympathy for her. Aruba lost her passion in her career as an esthetician. She needed to devote her time to Amir when he was born, and we were hit with his unforeseen circumstances. So I love you, Aruba, if you're listening. Thank you for being the best mother. The whole COVID shutdown was never about safety, but more about selling vaccines, unfortunately. Governor Cuomo ruined his economy and people's lives here in New York State to go along with his deep state agenda, which is to sell vaccines, guys. That's what it comes down to. It's very sad that we have to suffer.
CDC sells $4.6 billion of vaccines every year. $4.6 billion. They're not even a government institution.
Exactly.
They're a separate organization.
How are we pushing a rushed, untested, warp speed, and unsafe vaccine when you have a natural cure called hydrochloroquine? How is that possible, guys? Fox News aired an article that stated hydrochloroquine could save up to 100,000 lives if used for COVID-19. This is according to Yale epidemiologist Professor Dr. Harvey Risch. And of course, they shut him down. Okay? America's top frontline doctors that are hands-on with COVID patients that came forward and said hydrochloroquine and zinc are the best cure for COVID-19. They immediately censored them, erased their live videos, and shut down their social media accounts. Yeah. Very sad. Very sad. Very, very sad. There was a particular doctor by the name of Dr. Stella Emanuel. She was super fierce and came forward and said the cure is hydrochloroquine. So they called her crazy, and she got banned from YouTube and Facebook, which is very sad. She's such a smart lady. I guess telling the truth is not allowed anymore. We are now in the censorship era, guys, so get used to it. We are all being censored, from the highest level to the lowest level. Okay? If you speak the truth about anything, you get censored and kicked off social media platform. The CDC, FDA, NIH, and WHO are working so hard to prevent natural herd immunity, guys. Why is that? If we naturally get the COVID virus, their plans will have failed and they will lose billions and maybe trillions of dollars, you know, from vaccine sales. Right. As RFK Jr. said, the CDC and FDA are a vaccine company. Nothing more, nothing less. They're a vaccine company. So, it's crazy. Bill Gates, along with Dr. Fauci, have teamed up with the biggest social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, and Google to fact check and censor anyone talking about the truth and against their agenda. They constantly target and censor big figures in our movement such as RFK Jr. and Del Bigtree. They've recently deleted all the high-wire social media pages on Facebook and YouTube. In addition to that, they erased all their hard work over the years. Del Bigtree and his team have been working hard for over the last decade to bring us honest and real uncut raw truth. They have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars researching, doing scientific studies to bring us the truth, and that's the way to pay them back, by destroying what they built and what they worked hard for. When is this gonna end? When are we gonna be free? Even on a lower scale of social media platforms, we get censored on a daily basis. I'm currently in Facebook jail for 30 days for talking about dead baby fetuses and vaccines, in which we all know that's true, because I linked the CDC website showing that there is dead baby fetuses and vaccines. I still got fact-checked and suspended. In 1948, my grandparents left the war zone in Palestine as refugees to go to a country of Jordan. My parents then migrated from Jordan to America in hopes they would better their children's lives. They came to America, the land of the free, thinking we could live in peace and tranquility, but that was not the case. What I have experienced in the past year in New York State made me realize that we truly are not living in peace and have no freedom. If my grandparents were still alive today, they would be devastated to see the way we are living in communist New York State. Most New Yorkers comply because of the fear. I refuse to comply, and I will keep fighting for religious and medical freedom. I'm just going to give you a little bit of history about Governor Cuomo before I end this. Governor Cuomo has illegally kicked out 26,000 plus students for not being vaccinated. He decided to take millions of dollars from Big Pharma in exchange of mandating vaccines. Cuomo has no conscience. He killed thousands of elderly people by placing them in nursing homes and simply moved on without any regrets or just didn't look back. He just said, all right, it is what it is. I would have put my mom in there, but I'm moving on. Cuomo is a dictator. He favors profits over freedom for his constituents. Cuomo was on Epstein flight logs. Now I understand why he has a nipple piercing at the age of 62. Now I know why. Cuomo has the highest COVID rates and deaths throughout the country. And they're saying he's the best governor. I mean, people are blind, honestly. Cuomo is a hypocrite. He forces New Yorkers to wear a mask while he's in public without wearing a mask. Cuomo is allowing Bill Gates to interfere in our children's school system. He's handing over our kids' education to a billionaire shark that only worries about profit. Cuomo has given big corporations such as Big Pharma control over our medical decisions and made our kids lab rats. Cuomo allowed hundreds of criminals such as thugs, rapists, and killers to roam the streets without jail time. Last but not least, Governor Cuomo praised violent protesters and looters around New York State, stating that they are fed up after 400 years of slavery, which is completely irrelevant. And the only real prison is fear, and the only real freedom is freedom from fear. Thank you, guys. God bless you all. Thanks for coming out.
Ali Hamadeh. Our last speaker, but not our last presenter, because we're going to have some music at the end here, was up here earlier already. It's Brooke Jordan. Brooke is a force of nature when it comes to fighting for her children, my children, and your children in just about every arena that's out there. So, Brooke, there you are.
What's up, New York? So this picture here pretty much sums up why we are all here today. Because Cuomo has a lot of blood on his hands to account for. We've had person after person come up here and give various different accounts of the various different things that Cuomo has done and things that he's guilty of. He's guilty of killing our elderly. He's guilty of killing our middle-aged by releasing prisoners from jail before time and having them come out and recommit murders and rapes and other assaults. He's guilty of killing children of all ages through his vaccine mandates. And he's guilty of killing our most innocent, our unborn children. So today, I was tasked with talking about Cuomo's lovely Reproductive Act. The only thing that I could compare what he did with this Reproductive Act, where he allowed the murder of unborn babies after 24 weeks, the only thing I could think to compare him to was a rebel warlord. When you think of warlords, their sole purpose is to kill the next generation of their enemies. And that is exactly what Cuomo did. He authorized the ability or the instruction for doctors to be able to enter into a child's most protected area, the womb of its mother, to enter in there and slaughter our unborn children. Now, to many of you, it may not be, such a big deal. There are many people out there, not you necessarily, but out there on the World Wide Web and other places that they may be seeing this, where this may not be such a big deal to you. But when I think about it, when we have leadership that thinks nothing of entering into the womb and murdering babies, when life is one of the most essential things that we have. Life is a gift. It's a gift that comes with responsibility. And every life that is created is a light. Who is he to allow people to enter in and diminish the light of these unborn children before it's been even allowed to enter into the world? Here I am as an African American in New York State. I'm a descendant of slaves. Even the slaves, knowing the conditions that they were facing, still chose to have their babies. So I'm not with this argument like life is so hard that the only way that we can help is to kill unborn children. I don't believe that. Because I'm only here because in spite of the hardness, my ancestors still chose to give birth. When my mom was pregnant with me, she was facing a divorce. She was in the middle of a divorce. A young parent already had 3 children. She thought multiple times about getting rid of me. But thank God she didn't. And I stand here today to fight for the rights of my children and your children because she chose life for me. My sister was pregnant with my nephew, and the doctors told her he doesn't have a chance. She had beat cancer as a child, but she had multiple treatments of chemotherapy, and they said he doesn't have a chance. He's going to come out with a disability. You should get rid of him. They tormented her over and over again. Your son's life is not going to be worth anything. You should abort him. You know what? My nephew is a 21-year-old college graduate today. Not to mention, who are they to think that they can determine what someone's quality of life is worth or not worth? These people think they're God, and this is why I'm here today to remind them they are not God. God is God. Cuomo is Cuomo, and he is nothing but a man. This gentleman who spoke earlier today, who gave us our options, of voting and our options of the barrel, he left out one option. Prayer is our most viable option. Prayer. Do not diminish what prayer brings to the table. There was a young man in 2018, shortly after my nephew Justice passed away of cancer in April of 2018. In August, there was a young man by the name of Jeremiah Thomas who lived in Texas. He was battling cancer at 16 years old, and the only thing that he wanted before he died was to see his governor value life. and to abolish. He didn't care about his own life. Justice didn't care about his own life. They wanted the lives of the children, the lives of unborn babies, the lives of future generations to matter. I'm the mother of 3 black children. Yes, black lives matter. But you know what else? Unborn lives matter. White lives matter. Black and blue lives matter. Christians matter. Muslims' lives matter. The disabled lives matter. Women's lives matter. Men's lives matter. We all matter. At the end of the day, we all matter. And unless and until we can stand together as one and stop allowing these liars to divide us, we won't see what we truly can be as a nation. We all matter, and we have to stand united. We've got one flag here. One flag. It's the flag, the red, white, and blue over there. That is our flag. And we have to stand united under that flag, which was created under God. So that's all I have to say, is that all of our lives matter. And in doing so, I just wanted to leave you guys with a little bit of hope for today. We don't want to end on a negative. We want to end on a positive, because we do have hope for our future. As long as God is still God, we have hope for our future. Many people ask me, you know, are you going to leave? What are you going to do? My kids were kicked out of school. Are you going to leave? Where are you going to stay? I've never been a runner. I have always been a fighter. I'm not going anywhere unless and until God tells me to, and unless and until I see Governor fail out of his throne, and somebody else who loves New York State as much as we do on there fighting for the rights of the people and our children here in New York State. So at this point in time, I'm going to bring up here my 14-year-old daughter, Sydney, and my nephew, Giovanni, who are also a part of this fight. Sydney, her father is an immigrant. He came from a war from Liberia. And you know what he has to say as a black man and an immigrant here in the United States? This is flaws. But there are so many other countries that are worse off than where we are. And as an immigrant and as an African American, he can stand here and say he is proud to be an American because he knows where he comes from. And he knows the grass is not always greener. So it is up to us to make America be what we want and what we need it to be. Not just for us, but for our future generations. So at this point in time, like I said, this is my daughter, Sydney, and my nephew, Gio. They are, this is Gio, this is his brother on my shirt here. His name was Justice. And he battled cancer in 2018, and he won. He won. But the one thing that he told us, and the one thing as a family that we learned from this, is that we do not want to be space taker uppers. We are here to make a difference because people like Justice left us here to do so. They charged us on his way out. He charged us to be difference makers. He charged us to remind people of who God is. So when Governor Cuomo said there will be no church, right here, this right here, we showed up to church every Sunday. We led praise and worship every Sunday because we're not governed by Governor Cuomo. We are governed by God, and we do what God tells us to do. And we know where our strength and our help and our hope comes from. And it all comes from God. So here's Gio and Sid.
Testing, there we go. How many already have church today? We've heard a lot of great speakers today. We've heard a lot of great messages. But the message that we want to leave today is that there is still hope. No matter what's going on, no matter what the outcome looks like, we still have hope. So we're going to sing a song for you. It's called You Keep Hope Alive.
God is greater, you light our way, God, you light. Okay, we're gonna start again. Yeah, we're gonna do it right.
You want to? Testing, there we go.
Testing, we're good. All right, we're good to go. Yeah, woo!
We are with power to save, with power to save. Oh, you keep hope alive. You keep hope alive from the beginning to end. Your word never fails. You keep hope alive because you are alive. Jesus, you are alive. There's hope in the morning, hope in the evening, hope because you're living, hope because you're breathing. There's hope in the breaking, hope in the sorrow, hope for this moment, my hope for tomorrow. There's hope in the morning, hope in the evening, hope because you're living, hope because you're breathing. There's hope in the breaking, hope in the sorrow, hope for this moment, my hope for tomorrow. You keep hope alive. You keep hope alive from the beginning to end. Your word never fails. You keep hope alive because you are alive. Jesus, you are alive. Say you keep hope alive. You keep hope alive from the beginning to end. Your word never fails. You keep hope alive because you are alive. Jesus, you are alive.
Mindfulness. Mindfulness.
You can practice this anytime. Meditation is really important. You can do it like literally anytime. You can be at the grocery store in the line and just start focusing on your breath, taking in the things around you, right? Because we're here and there are things we must accept in order to change other things, right? Right? Cool. So that was that. I wish everyone peace, and I encourage you to take action whatever way you can, and not just action. Can I say informed action?
Informed action.
Informed action. That means knowing what is going on and why you're doing that action, and so that if someone else asks you, there's no hesitation. You can just tell them this is why I'm doing this and why you should too. So let's do that. Encourage your friends until they come out. We've seen bigger numbers than this. I'm happy that all of you are here. Let's get the numbers bigger. Let's bear the name's blessings of peace, love, comfort, and joy to all.
Thank you, Elisha.
That was great. Okay, folks, that's it for the formal speeches. Just keep engaged, keep informed, keep together. We just started a website, cuomosgottago.com. Okay. We're going to keep you informed. So one last thing, let's have another chorus of Cuomo's Gotta Go. Cuomo's gotta go.
Cuomo's gotta go. Cuomo's gotta go. Cuomo's gotta go. Cuomo's gotta go. Cuomo's gotta go. Gotta go. Cuomo's gotta go. Cuomo's gotta go.
Thank you very much.
Cuomo's gotta go.
Bye.
That's it, folks. Thanks for joining us today. God bless you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Gonna make some eggs.
Be a lawyer when he gets older.
Hell
He don't want to play sports. He want to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And that is dope. That is so dope to me. That's like the first kid I've ever heard say they wanted to be a lawyer that is black. He didn't say sports. He didn't say I want to play basketball or football. He said he wanted to be a lawyer. A lawyer. That is dope. And it's on us to make sure that he can be that lawyer with no problem. It is on us. That is our responsibility to him, to make sure he can be a lawyer when he gets old enough to be that lawyer. It's on us right now to change stuff for him, so when he gets older, he can go take his exams and all that with no problem, no issue, and become a lawyer with no problem. That's why we're here, for kids like him. He is the future, literally. Literally, that is the future standing right there. So for him to drive his grandmama out the house and come out here, he knows he's the future. He knows he's the future. He knows we're out here fighting for his future. So just remember that. Like, not all these kids, like, they actually talk to these kids. Look at them, go and talk to them. I do all the time. Like, I'm in love with kids. Like, that's just like what I do. I'm not going to walk past a kid and not speak life into them. And that's on all of us to do, though. Even if you're just walking down the street in your neighborhood, you see a kid, speak life into that kid. Because a lot of people don't speak life into these kids. At school, they degrade them and they belittle them. Some kids come home and get the same treatment. Literally, some kids come home and get the same belittlement and degradement at home like they do at school. So it's on us to speak life into these kids. Like, literally, you have to speak life and positivity into these kids. Because that's what changes their mind. Some bad words, listen, they'll remember those bad words, but they'll remember the good ones way more. He's going to remember this way more than the bad times he's had in his life. Because this is about him. Literally. So when you see these kids, speak life into them. Encourage them. See what they want to be. Ask them what they want to be before you just assume what they want to be. Be there for them. Speak life into them, literally. If that's the one thing I want to reiterate, is speaking life into these kids. You have to speak life into these kids. You have to. It's imperative that we speak life into these children. Because they are our future. They are what's going to be the world after us. Literally, that is the world after us. So we have to speak life into them if we want them to be more than just football and basketball and music. We have to. We have to speak life into them and give them other alternatives. For real, for real. That's it. That's all I got.
Black youth! Black youth! Black youth! Black youth! Black youth! Black youth!
That's it.
That's it.
I feel like that's everything. We'll be here again tomorrow. Please tell all of your friends to come. Tonight, 7 p.m. Do y'all know where you're meeting at?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Give her a sec.
So, if you've been appreciating Elijah's morning grounding processes, you can support them by Venmo Classic Elijah. Everyone can do that.
Same as her Instagram. Bunch of scrunch. Say it once. Bunch of scrunch. Bunch of scrunch. Bunch of scrunch. That was a lot. We all say it once. Bunch of scrunch. Bunch of scrunch.
But
But that's it. Y'all are amazing. Absolutely imperative and vital to the movement. Every single day that we are out here spreading the message, being seen, having our signs, doing this, every single day that we do that is vital and important, and is keeping the pressure on and is continuing this movement, because without a movement there is no change. So we have to keep this movement up. That is the key. We have to keep this movement up. So thank you all. I see all of your faces like every single day, and it is the cherry on top of my day every single day, and it starts out at 8 a.m. So my day's already made. So thank you for being here every single day. I truly love y'all. When we say family, we dead ass mean that shit.
Like, no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Like, we dead ass mean that shit.
Last reminder, ticket 11:30, so 45 minutes, and then sign making banners at 1:30. Bring supplies, bring a friend. Thank you.
If you can't make it to the city to where the actual Picket for Change is happening, you can picket for change on your corner of your street.
Yes.
On the busy intersection of your street, you can stand out there with a sign, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of interaction. Just tag Picket for Change so they can see, and we can see, and just be like, ah.
Tell your friends to too.
And you can make signs at home too. You don't have to come to the event. You can make signs.
Don't need DT to do it.
You don't need me to do any of this. I'm just one person.
We're coming for you.
But I will hold you accountable for not having a sign inside your backpack.
You know, it might
I think that's it. Yeah? Oh, I'm gonna get the hand. Yes, get a pic. Let me get your hand for the stream. New art, eh? Oh, it's not ready? Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Black power, baby. Also, fuck the police. There we go. That's sick, dude.
That's so perfect. Yes.
Okay. I never show my face, but I'm Calypso. So, yeah. I'm gonna start just at least ending my day so you guys know who I am. I am a BIPOC woman in Seattle, and I'm one of the few streamers out there, so please support me, share my shit. Yeah. We'll be here tomorrow, same spot, Central Park on the west side. We're gonna be doing community cleanup, same as today. So we'll march around, we'll have our speeches. Elisha will do their grounding, which if you saw the beginning of my live, she does amazing grounding and yoga. So yeah, it's gonna be a really good day tomorrow. Hopefully the kitty will be here tomorrow too. But everybody have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m.